Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color.
It's hard to get stuff done when there's no one to do it for you.
Biggest value, the biggest marketing opportunity I think any photographer has is their existing client base.
Photos help us remember to remember.
First of all, why don't you each just give me a brief intro into who each of you are? And let's start with Rachel, because you're up there in the top on my end.
Sounds good. I am Rachel Reiss, and I am the Senior Manager of Customer Marketing at PhotoShelter. And I've been with PhotoShelter for 13 years, so quite a while.
Yeah.
We handle everything. Caitlyn and I work closely together, so I'll try not to talk about exactly what Caitlyn's going to talk about. But we're basically partners in crime at PhotoShelter. And we do everything from content marketing to customer engagement to acquisition these days, to letting people know about what we've got going on at PhotoShelter, product releases, all that stuff. So everything comes out of our team, everything that I just mentioned. And we both actually have backgrounds on the client services team doing customer support. So I think we both have a really good understanding of what the pain points are for photographers and what they want to get out of our platform.
And you and Caitlyn work together.
Yes, we do.
Caitlyn, who are you?
I am the community marketing manager, so very much kind of Rachel's sidekick, I would say, on a daily basis. And I handle, a lot of the content marketing that we do. So I write for our blog. I sort of coordinate some of our free educational guides. I work with a lot of partners on those. And then, do anything from sending out the newsletter to hosting webinars. I'm kind of all over the place. But I think, having that background in customer support really helps when it comes to our ability to market, I would say.
Now, Rachel, before we get to Grover, I'm going to ask you a quick question. You've already sparked something. You said 13 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Give me the quick rundown on how in the world have you been with the same place for 13 years?
Well, there's definitely a reason I've been with the same company for 13 years. And that's, PhotoShelter's clearly my second family. They've been great to me. They are a great company to work for. And I've been able to sort of move around as my interests have peaked in different areas. So I started just doing tech support and then managed that team for a while. And then I moved into this role that was supposed to kind of be like bridging the gap between marketing and tech support. And from there, I've just sort of moved into a more general marketing role. And yeah, I've been able to kind of figure out sort of where I want to be and do the things at PhotoShelter that I like to do. And they've been really great in just sort of letting us explore different areas and kind of do what we want to do. So it's been a really great company to work for.
It seems to me, as so I go to the website and I go straight to the culture part of the website, because this is my segue into asking Grover about the history of PhotoShelter. But you said 13 years. That's out of 15 years, from what I understand.
Yes.
Right. And I go to your website and I'm looking at culture. That's the first place when I'm checking a place out, and I've known of PhotoShelter for a long time. That's not the issue. But when I want to know more about something, that's where I go. I want to know. I go to the about. I go to culture. I want to see who it is. I want to see how they're presenting themselves. And I'm looking at the brats, and there's a big salmon on the table of somebody's house, and I'm thinking, I want to be at those dinners. I want to be part of that environment, right? Like it looks so appealing. And so, Grover, this takes me to you. I have this big question as I was reading through. Were you at the historic dinner 15 years ago when somebody started talking about this, and then this kind of started, or this kind of happened?
Oh, yes. I was there.
A few friends got together over dinner. Yeah,
that's what it says. A few friends got. It was just so nonchalant. A few friends got together, and now boom, we have. Can you tell me about? I want to know about that night. I want to know about that time to start off with.
A friend of mine we started a website called Sport Shooter, and this was like, oh my God, 18, 19 years ago. And so it was like before Facebook, and it was the first place for sports photographers.
That's almost before everything, by the way.
I know.
On the internet.
It's just not, I'm feeling it. And so we started this website, and it got really popular. Yeah. And we spent about 3 years developing that. The whole purpose of that site wasn't to bring sports photographers together, as if the world needed that. It was more like to build a community of people, because our biggest plans were for what PhotoShelter was. And so that requires a lot of trust, right? Like, you're not going to take your entire archive and then put that into some stranger's hands. So we needed to become known and trusted. So we did that for 3 years, and we're like, okay, the time is right. And we had developed this whole marketing plan, this whole business plan, the whole everything. But what we were missing was this storage technology that was going to make this all affordable. And we had done some pricing around and looked at commercially available options, and nothing was really within budget or in scope, or that would require a ton of investment from outsiders. And so we were about to give up. And then we arranged one last dinner we arranged with Alan, who was a member of Sport Shooter. And we said, hey, this is what we got. This is what we're working on. We're about to give up. We don't have a storage system, or do you know any advice for us? And they looked at each other like shocked. They're like, are you kidding? Because we have a storage system that we developed, and we don't have a front end piece to put on it. And so we both all got quiet and looked at each other and was like, what is this dinner what I think it is? And then and then we decided right then and there, let's do this. And we formed a company and immediately got working and built it.
It's you're
realizing, I think it was 9 months.
Did we just become best friends? It's like one of those it's like one of those scenes. That's awesome.
That storage system is still in place, and it's still our secret weapon. We're able to do amazing things because of that, and cheaper than any of our competitors can. We can do bulk storage cheaper. So
you have a proprietary system that was developed?
Oh yeah,
it's yours?
For sure.
I did not know that.
And we never lost a single file in all these years. Never a single file is lost.
All right, that's all really great information. I mean, honestly, as a potential customer, I'm thinking to myself, this is what I want to hear. 15 years, not a single file. Because I mean, my wife and we've had a photo studio for a little over 20 years, and I cannot say the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I can't say the same thing at home, but in our data centers, yeah.
Well, so let's talk about a little bit more specifically today what PhotoShelter is and what separates from. Well, we've already said a little bit now. What separates this proprietary storage system, but what else separates PhotoShelter from everybody else? And I'll throw that softball out for anybody.
Go ahead, Reiss.
Yeah, I can start. Sure. I mean, I think, honestly, nowadays we get compared to a lot of services that the main thing that they do is websites. We have great websites. But the thing that makes PhotoShelter so special is really the tools that come along with it. The archiving system, the delivery platform, the e-commerce platform. I was actually just looking back at our last Net Promoter survey earlier, and for the customers of ours that are the happiest, the thing that is the stickiest for them, the thing that makes them love us the most, is the image delivery tools. They have beautiful websites and they love having a website, but it's the ability to send their files to clients in a really professional way, to not have to use a third-party tool like a Dropbox or something like that. Mm-hmm. When clients download, it's right on their website. They can really control this sort of end-to-end experience for people. And I think that's just part of what makes us so special. Our cloud platform Grover just talked about is also a huge thing. You know, other services use like Amazon Web Services and stuff like that. And we are able to say exactly what Grover just said, that we've never lost a single file. We have like 99.9999% uptime. These are things that people want to hear, just like you said. So
yeah, it doesn't go down either, apparently.
Exactly. If it ever does, it's scheduled, and that's for maintenance purposes. Right. We've never had, you know, we're really on top of that sort of thing. And really, again, it's the combination of all of those things together that I think is what really makes PhotoShelter so special. You can upload every single image that you've ever taken, your raw files, doesn't have to be just JPEGs, and then have access to that stuff from anywhere in the world. So that's another thing that I think, you know, really makes it feel so special for people, that they can be traveling, they can be on the road, they can be in the air, wherever they are, and they have their files like really literally in the palm of their hand. So
right. How do you guys, so this makes me think of the age old, we'll call it tension between form and function. Because you want it, especially in the photography industry, everybody wants everything to look pretty. It all has to look nice. It all has to be appealing. There has to be a focus on the aesthetic, but it needs to work, and it needs to work all the time. If it doesn't work, no one's going to care how nice it looks. It needs to look nice, but it has to work. So what does that look like for you guys? When you're developing as you're developing this service, this product, and as you're pushing it, right, and promoting it, how do you think about those two things back and forth? Are they both at the forefront, or do you have to swing back and forth? How does that work?
I think for us, we are in a unique position because we are in between the photographer and then their customer, right? So we have a unique view. Of course, we listen to the photographers. They are constantly telling us what they think and what they want. And usually they're usually they're right. Right. So we listen and we respond. And then, but then we're also able to feed them back information like, well, actually, your customers will find it easier. We've seen if you follow this practice, and that gives them some additional insight that they wouldn't normally have. So that is a constant thing, and it's always changing, right? Because browser technology is changing, SEO, requirements are changing, and we're always adapting along with it.
So you're nurturing this two-way street constantly back and forth, right?
Yeah, we kind of have to.
Right.
And I think that's one of the benefits that people get from
it. Sounds like another big thing about PhotoShelter. Now, you mentioned SEO. Let's talk about SEO a little bit. Okay, because first thing that happens in my brain when I hear the letters SEO is I freak out a little bit. I don't want to think about it. I don't like the fact that it is a thing and that I need to know about it because it's important, and yet I'm old. This isn't the case for everybody, but I'm on the older end of the spectrum, and the letters SEO make me nervous. What do you do, and what do you have in place to calm my nerves or to make the SEO experience in general better and easier for your clients?
I think if I can take that for a second. So I think the biggest thing is content. So, I think that there is this big spectrum with a lot of photographers. Some people really fancy themselves kind of SEO experts. And then some people are like, what is this? How do I do it? How do I, come up on search, that kind of thing. And so I think we really try and strike a balance in terms of the content that we're putting out there and making it as really as approachable as possible. So we had like a summer-long SEO campaign that included, webinars with our support team where people can come in and ask the questions, that they want answered. We're working on an SEO guide right now that's kind of broken up by like basic, intermediate, and expert level sort of tips and suggestions. But I think also bringing that content to market, the other thing that we really focus on is making sure it's like accessible when the photographer is ready. So if you can't join the webinar on a Friday at 12, you can watch the recording, and if you want to take detailed notes, just pause the recording, write your notes and keep going. It doesn't have to be kind of like one and done, you missed the event, now you don't have the information.
Well, so you're kind of meeting people where they are in a sense, right? You don't need to be an SEO expert. If you are, that's great. If you're not, we have these resources for you to learn, to implement, right? Kind of maybe even at your own pace. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And a lot of the way that we've gone about the SEO content is talking with our support team and getting a good idea of what are the questions that people are asking. Is it really, really basic stuff like terminology that we need to clarify? Or is it, more in depth, how do I do a meta description correctly? How do I keyword in a way that's actually useful and not harmful for my SEO, things like that. So I think that's the other thing is we work super closely from a marketing perspective with our support team to make sure that we're actually answering the questions that people want answered and not just putting out information that someone might be able to find elsewhere.
So let's do this. Tell me if you can, and if you are willing, about what's coming down the pike. Any things that I should keep my eyes and ears open for that we can discuss briefly maybe today?
Well, the focus, I have a team down here in Mexico. I'm in Mexico, by the way. It's Guadalajara. And we built a team down here to work on the new website templates for PhotoShelter, and then also a really revolutionarily new, awesome site builder that's going to power them. And the stuff that we're doing there, I'm like legit excited. I can't wait to see how they react when they see what we're doing. It's complicated. It's taking a while. I guess some people are wishing they had more patience, but by the end, they're going to see like, oh, wow, okay, this is a big deal. This is worth it.
It's great. I can see it in your face. Your whole face lights up when you talk about this. You're like, I'm legit excited. And your expression changes dramatically when you say that.
I mean, it's cool. It really is. Like the stuff.
Awesome.
I just wish I had access to something like this myself, like years ago. Like, I mean, because we finally got to, when we built this team, we had this option to decide like, okay, do we want to continue building on the existing platform, or do we want to like start over? Now, there's pros and cons for both, right? Mm-hmm. But when we made the list of all the things we could and couldn't do with each, there was unlimited potential if we started over, and we would be able to handle every request that anyone had ever thrown at us. And then whereas before we had a long list of stuff that couldn't be supported because the technology had moved on. So we all voted to start over. Of course, that's going to take longer. But when we're done, oh my God, it's just going to be, I'm telling you, people are going to be freaked.
Really
you do a very good job at piquing my curiosity and my interest. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, like, okay, so previously and in other places, if you would choose a site template, and then you'd pretty much be stuck with that design in whatever, however it is. But with ours now, you're going to be able to choose a template, but every single element, every box, every line, every spacing, every font, every corner, everything you can go into, and there's a little menu item for each element that you can select and then customize it and change it to exactly how you want. So all the behaviors, pretty much everything about the site can be customized to your liking, and in an easy way. It's not like you need to know code or anything like that. It's like very easy, natural way to do it.
It's like template fluid. Like everything within it is customizable within the template itself. Yeah. Because that's the first thing you think about that's a drawback or a con to a template. It's like, well, I'm going to be locked in, and my options are going to be limited, and I'm going to want to do something that I can't do. But what I hear you saying is that that's no longer going to be the case for the most part. Am I right?
That's correct. And that's why I'm so excited. And and not only that, but we took it one step further. I probably shouldn't be revealing all this stuff right now because.
Well, you need to be careful.
Anyway. But the other cool thing is, like, let's say you did all that. most people or sites would allow you to do that, and it would, whatever change you made would be site wide. No, we're going to allow you to make a different gallery that has a different structure and different like view from anything else. So, so everything can look different. You're not limited in any way. And if you really want to get nerdy about it,
he just keeps going. He doesn't. He's like, I shouldn't talk about this stuff, but he's so excited. Actually, he can't help himself.
I'm probably going to get into trouble.
That's okay. That's okay.
Rachel is going to yell at me when we're on this
call.
No
way.
All right. That's all right.
I will butt in for a second and say, by the way, that we asked our members what they wanted. You know, we took the time to like make sure that we were asking them exactly what they wanted from us, and we want to make sure that we're listening to them. It's really important to us that we're listening to what they're telling us, and we asked them to choose like the top 3 things that they wanted us to work on this year, and all 3 were website related. They wanted more templates, more designs, and more customization options, more ways to customize it to get it to look exactly the way that they want it to look. Right. They're creative and they're very specific about how they want their brands to be portrayed, you know, and how they want the website to look. So it needs to be simple and easy, but also beautiful and exactly the way that they want it,
there you know? Go.
So
Grover, tell me the nerdy piece. Can you please tell me the nerdy piece?
I thought you were going to forget that.
No, I'm a nerd. You're talking to a nerd.
So each individual component of a website, like a thumbnail, right? That could be a component. That can have all these different things applied to it. So like if you roll your mouse over the thumbnail, it can do an action. It can highlight, or it can get bigger. It can get bigger and display a little piece of the caption or credit or something. But all of that is basically just SS. What am I saying? CSS. God.
I wasn't sure what you were saying, but yes, CSS.
I knew, but I was just waiting for you to come up with
acronyms. Just throw me. So with CSS controls that's what's happening in the background, right? So when you have an interface, you can like make these adjustments and it's changing the CSS. People don't never really see it. No. The geeky part is you can go into like what we're calling danger mode and expose that for each of the elements. So if you're like a CSS whiz, you could go in there and actually just write your own CSS to apply to that element.
Sure. But if you're giving the keys to the kingdom to the end user, don't they then also have the power to destroy the castle?
Yes, that's why it's called danger mode.
Okay, so all right. Well, okay.
Anyway, we used to call it manual mode. Now it's danger mode.
Yeah, only the brave. Only the brave. I mean, you don't need it, but like, you know, there's going to be somebody who's like, well, actually, my CS code is more beautiful than yours, and so we'll.
Right. Like you know that's going to happen. You're getting ready for that. What about anything else that now we've just talked about, like the next year or 2 or 10 of what's happening at PhotoShelter, but Caitlyn, tell me this. Why should I, Joe photographer, start using PhotoShelter?
Well, I think there's kind of 2 sides of that. You know, I think the first side is obviously the tools and the website and having everything kind of in your grasp. You don't, again, need to use a Dropbox or a WeTransfer to, you know, get files to a photo editor who might be wanting to hire you. You know, you literally can have a portfolio website. Someone can find you through SEO or your Instagram or whatever that may be. They'll see your portfolio. They might reach out through like a contact form on your site. You very quickly, ideally, can go into your archive, search for whatever that may be, London photos, for example, kind of customize the gallery for them, send that out within literally minutes. And then, you know, bada bing, you hopefully have a job. So I think that's kind of the first component. And then the second thing, and I think that this really does differentiate us from some of our competitors, is the like community aspect of it. I mean, so many of the people who are PhotoShelter employees are photographers. And so we sort of have this inherent need and desire to make the photo world just better. Right. So, you know, we're constantly sending each other links of like crazy photos that we found, you know, recently, yesterday, it was all of these wildfire photos that we were kind of going back and forth talking about.
I saw that last night. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and then even separate from us being just kind of nerdy internally, we have these free educational guides. And that's kind of the other thing that we're really known for. And those are available to anyone. You don't have to be a PhotoShelter member. They are literally free PDFs that have anything from, you know, business tips to SEO stuff, which is coming out really soon, to, we had a guide on inclusive photography. So that was all about how to be sort of more respectful in certain communities where you might be shooting, you know, that you don't kind of belong to. Right. And working with some of the photographers who are, you know, Indigenous or Black, and talking with them and figuring out, you know, what have photographers kind of historically done wrong, and like, how can we right that and make sure that everybody can be, you know, everybody can have a seat at the table, kind of thing. So, well,
because PhotoShelter is diverse. Like, even looking through your photos, assuming you weren't using stock photography, but I mean, you have people from all over the place. I was noticing in those photos. And well, okay, so for me, I'll just throw a personal thing. I have 2 children of color, and so when I see that, right, that means something to me. Right. And of course you service people, you have the ability to service people all over the globe. Right. So you got people coming in from all over the place. I think that's special. I think that separates you from the pack as well. I think that really stands out, and I can appreciate that. Close with this. Tell me, here's the biggest softball of them all. Tell me how important it is to partner with an amazing fulfillment lab like White House Custom Color. That's not on my list, but I wanted to throw it in there.
Well, it's really important, especially when photographers are giving some of the control over to the lab with automated fulfillment. They don't necessarily get to see the finished product before it goes to the customer, for instance. Right. So they can be very specific about the labs that they like and trust and that they want to be able to use. And White House Custom Color was one of those. Before we had our partnership, people were asking for us to integrate. Yeah. And so we did. So good. I think, again, people want to trust that the finished product that they're handing over to the client is exactly the way that they want it to be, right, and that they want it to look, the quality, all of that stuff. So that was a really big reason why we
you don't want to have to worry about it, because you're not necessarily going to get to see it. It just, it just has to be nice.
Exactly. Automated fulfillment is also a big thing. It's totally hands off. So you can sell prints and products and not have to step in and do anything. And so that's really big for photographers. They want to be able to do that, but then they also want to know that what the client is getting is perfect. So
Rachel, Caitlyn, and Grover, I thank you for your time today. Grover, if you decide that you said too much, you can tell me later, and we can just do some snipping and snipping. You guys have a great day, and thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you
so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this conversation presented by White House Custom Color on YouTube. Be sure to check out our other content and click that subscribe button right there. Right there. It's there somewhere.